Caleb Williams and then trade away Justin Fields. Some teams that are thinking about it right now could potentially be the Las Vegas Raiders. The Pittsburgh Steelers could be interested, but those are two of the main teams. And then Tampa Bay if Baker Mayfield decides to leave in free agency.
I think of those three that you mentioned, I would love to see him in Vegas. I think that fits the culture there, what they're trying to build. I think that he would do his best there. I don't want him to go to Pittsburgh because I don't think that that's going to benefit him. He's a guy that could go around with a lot of talent. You saw how much the DJ Moore addition helped him last year. You saw him having Cole Kmet, how much that benefited him. So if he can go to a place like Pittsburgh, to Vegas, where there is a Devontae Adams there potentially, they do have Michael Mayer who is good, and then Josh Jacobs in the running back field. Like that's going to help him a lot. And they have some players on that offensive line who have panned out too. So I just like him a lot better in Vegas than I do like a place like Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh would be a bad fit.
Yeah, and you're someone who's compared Antonio Pierce to friend of the show Dan Campbell, and Antonio Pierce could be like, look at what Dan Campbell did with Jared Goff, and if we're gonna go with the same trajectory, I won a game in Kansas City with a quarterback who did not have a completion after the first quarter, and then I look at like someone like Justin Fields. It seems like his confidence with his coaches, they don't really know how to coach him. They don't know how to build up that confidence. But if we're bringing in Antonio Pierce, we're going all in on establishing a Raiders culture here. Well, let's go full smash mouth football. Let's bring back Josh Jacobs. Let's bring back Devontae Adams. Let's have Jacoby Myers on this team. Let's get another stud receiver in the draft. And then the defense was coming alive, and it ended up finishing after Antonio Pierce took over as one of the better defenses in the NFL. And that's just how much a coach can help rebuild a quarterback's confidence. So if anyone can do it, I would say it's Antonio Pierce. Like, hey, man, I know it didn't go your way in Chicago. I know you have this issue with processing information, but we're going to make it simple here. What we want to do, run the football, play good defense, and just hit the completion when we need to win the game. Just manage the game. Don't do too much, and you'll be able to take us a lot farther than Aiden O'Connell and Jimmy G could ever dream of.
Yeah, he's got the athleticism. He's mobile, and I think that plays to his advantage. Plus, I know you're going to scoff when I say this, but Cliff Kingsbury as the OC. Cliff Kingsbury was the OC for Patrick Mahomes in college. And then when he went to the NFL and being with Kyler Murray, we saw how Kyler Murray elevated his play as well. So I think Cliff Kingsbury, I wouldn't take him as a head coach, but offensive coordinator, I think that could be bullish for someone like Justin Fields, who we're talking about Matt Eberflus and some of his guys.
He was with the Commanders, but
who?
Cliff Kingsbury.
Oh, okay.
Right, because remember he accepted the Raiders job. Now he's with the Commanders. But I see what you're saying, though.
Yeah, I think that overall, I think the Raiders have a better vibe, and I trust them a little bit more than the Steelers.
Yeah, so I could see that being a good trade. I think Justin Fields to the Raiders. I think that would look really good there. And then you're looking at a team like the Broncos, who potentially wants to move on from Russell Wilson. You don't really have the draft pick to be able to get an elite quarterback in the first round at the top unless Sean Payton can pull off some magic. So I think Denver could also be an interesting prospect for him if he wants to deal with Sean Payton. If I'm a player, though, I would rather go for Antonio Pierce over Sean Payton at this point in their careers.
Oh, yeah. And plus, I think they have a lot more talent around him, too. Javonte Williams is good. Colin Sutton's good, but who else do they have there?
Yeah.
So I like the Raiders a lot there.
Yeah, I like the Raiders a lot there. And then we also have Hassan Reddick, who has requested a trade from the Philadelphia Eagles here. He was a really solid pass rusher for them this season and in that Super Bowl run. And it has the Houston Texans giving up a second-round pick to acquire him. I think this would be an incredible move for the Texans, where you have young players and then you start to bring in some veteran players who can bring other players along in the process, know what it takes to get there, and then you add some veteran knowledge in that locker room that DeMeco Ryans can kind of lean on to lead some of those team meetings, walkthroughs, and film sessions.
Yeah, and I also think Hassan Reddick would be really great for Will Anderson, too. You have that guy who's been in the league for the last 7-8 years or so, who's been effective, who's won and been in big playoff games. I think you pair him with the Will Anderson, and you watch as Will Anderson continues to develop, too. I think that would be a great pick for them. I would try to go for maybe a third-round pick and maybe try to avoid giving up that second, but I think either way, if they have the cap space for it, if they can bolster that defense, then I would do it.
Yeah, I would definitely do it there, especially for the Houston Texans. I think just pass rushing wise, it would add such a high level dynamic, and then you can focus on other positions on the team where you have a really good defense. The Ravens did walk all over you, but you just didn't have the offensive firepower to really keep up with it. But we're gonna get Tank Dell back. We have Nico Collins, who has proven he's an absolute beast. So if we just bring in someone like a T. Higgins or an Ayuk, or we can draft another receiver as well, have some money to bring in another running back, bolster up the offensive line and tight end position. I think the Texans, that would make their draft process a lot easier if they don't have to worry about a pass rusher on top of all the needs they have on offense. So I like that trade. We also have another trade here, which is Khalil Mack. We don't know if the Chargers are going to cut him or trade him, but this one has him going to the Detroit Lions. Trade compensation would be a fourth round pick and just taking that $23 million contract off of the books. Khalil Mack had his best season as a pro as far as sacks last year. And we both think, I mean, this is kind of take that pass rush to the next level, which was kind of missing at times.
Oh, absolutely. It felt like it was Aiden Hutchinson or bust, and I think that you get Khalil Mack, especially with that veteran presence. They're going to continue to draft and develop. If they can get Khalil Mack there, and then maybe you draft a really nice D tackle, then I think that puts them in a great spot because right now their problem with their defense is their secondary and their pressure rate. If it's not Aiden Hutchinson, who else is it? Ali McNeil at points can, but you can't really trust them full in. So I would definitely go after a Khalil Mack if you can.
Yeah, I would definitely go after Khalil Mack. That would definitely help. It would take some pressure off of Aiden Hutchinson there. That if you keep him healthy, he's proven he's one of the best pass rushers in the league at this point. So I think that would help you. And then you can focus on just drafting that secondary. You would have your front seven short up. Let's get a D tackle and then focus every single draft pick on our secondary because we have one, two, three, four, five really good weapons on offense. We have one of the best offensive line units in
Mhm.
the league. So I think that helps there. Great move for the Lions.